What is up? It's Laura Landers. We are back here at Morning Matcha, and you might not have seen me last week, and that was because I was doing a little experiment with myself. I was my own guinea pig, and I did a good job. I was trying to avoid burnout, and I did it successfully. And so I'm here to talk to you about what happened last week and how I can pass on that information to you. So I was already doing another video project last week. I've had it set up for a while, and I was producing it, creating it, writing it. I was also in it. So it was a lot. And I knew that if I did Morning Matcha, I would not be excited about it. I wouldn't give good content, and this is my own show, and I can basically do whatever the hell I want. So I just decided that it was time to take a break, and I'm so glad I did because I'm happy to be here. I'm happy every week, but doing 2 full-on videos is just too much. It was too much for me. I had too much going on, so I'm really glad I decided to take a break. And I think that's what we need to discuss here today to avoid burnout, is that you need to take a break. Sometimes it's calculated, sometimes you need to plan it, sometimes you're just given the break, sometimes we don't get to plan the break and it just is spontaneous. Sometimes, like a spring break in school, you know it's coming and you know what you can plan for. And so life is just bouncing all over the place, right? And so we need to reset and recharge. And a lot of times we say we need to rest, but once we finally allow ourselves time to rest, we don't know what to do with that. We don't know how to utilize that time fully, and you lose the aspect of recharging. It's like your phone. Sometimes you have to turn it off when it's not working in order for it to work again. And I think that is so important. So you need to take a break. And that might mean something different for everybody. So within that, just that was already my point number 1. I'm so happy I took a break. I didn't know I needed it until I was overloaded, and we don't want to get to that point of being overloaded to like crashing, right? I didn't crash, but I don't want us to get there. So in that, once you take a break, number 2 is you have to allow yourself to rest and be okay with that. There's no point of resting if you are freaking out about it. I was freaking out about it. I was anxious in the beginning of my break. I felt like I was not fulfilling my full capacity, and I had to realize that not everybody can run at 100 miles an hour. Actually, nobody can run at 100 miles an hour forever. So to avoid the burnout, I want you to be able to know that you can go at the right pace, at the right space. You have to go at your own pace. So if you have not learned what your pace is, you need to learn it now. Because sometimes burnout makes us learn it on our own. I mean, everything in the world has to rest. Everything. Think about it. At some point, this refrigerator is gonna have to get unplugged and get a new one because it's going to die. It has to rest. Your phone has to rest, the animals have to rest, the birds and the bees, and everything has to rest. And it's kind of like a car. You have to stop the car, you have to let it cool down, then you can pop open the trunk and assess what's going on in your life. You get to examine all the proper parts, see if it's working at its high performance level, and then you can close the hood, start your car again, and let it run smoothly. And I think that there is a big misconception when it comes to rest. This is my 3rd point, is a lot of people think that rest means don't do anything. And that's not true. Rest is, I think the Greek word of rest, I don't remember what it is, but the definition of that is to stop working or cease working. I don't know if you're a Christian or not, but there's actually only 3 ambitions in the Bible. I'm kind of blanking on one of them, but it's pleasing God and resting, and I think the other one might be to love your neighbor, but resting is just so important. And I think that looks different for everybody. So you could be let's say your job is a physical trainer. You're helping someone get fit, and then it's time for you to take a break. You might not go work out as your break. Or let's say that you're on Zoom calls all the time and you're working on your computer all the time, and it's time for you to take a break. And that, your break could be a different time frame than everyone. It could be one day, it could be a weekend, it could be a full week, it could be a full-blown year sabbatical, I don't know, but I would recommend, and this is just kind of a little recommendation. It's not like scientifically proven, but if you take a break from what you're doing all the time and it's different than what you do all the time, you're gonna get a greater rest out of it than if it was the same thing. So it kind of just depends on who you are, and if you're trying to rest with a spouse or rest with a family member at the same time, like you get to enjoy that one day that you have for rest with your spouse might think rest is going on an adventure, going on a hike, and I might think that rest is sitting on the couch just online shopping on my phone all day. So you kind of have to compromise, especially depending on how long your rest period is. If it's one day and you're trying to rest together, compromise half and half of the day. You gotta work it out with whoever, but if it's only for you, soak up whatever it is that's gonna give you rest. So let's recap. To avoid burnout, you have to take a break. You just do. No human being could possibly just go 100 miles an hour. Number 2, you have to enjoy your rest. Rest in your break. You must sit in that. Don't feel guilty. So if you sitting on the couch doing nothing is going to make you feel anxious, then that is not the proper rest for you. Rest looks different for everyone. So you have to make sure that you are allowing yourself to figure out what that rest looks like for you. Okay, number 3 is you have to make sure that you're not bringing yourself to the crash moment. So sometimes we in life force ourselves into a break, and then that means you crashed, you worked too hard, you overworked yourself, you didn't give yourself boundaries, and then you crash and you need way more time than you would have to recuperate. And sometimes, especially as adults, we don't have that time. So now we have to take precautionary measures, and that is going to help you just take little bits of rest, maybe once a week or whatever that looks like for you, and you're not going to have that big crash, life-altering breakdown moment. And number 4 is don't work. So resting doesn't mean do nothing. Resting means don't work. So if driving is work to you, then resting means you stay at home. If getting your blood pumping and going out in nature is resting for you, go on a hike or go on a walk or go somewhere new. It's all about compromise. Remember, if you've got family members that you're trying to rest with, you've got to talk it out. Communication is of the utmost importance, or else you're going to waste your rest day or rest week. And just like a vacation, you have to sometimes go on adventures and sometimes relax, and you got the person who wants to always adventure and the person who always wants to relax. And I think that there is a healthy balance to compromising and having both of those. So those are, I guess, the 4 ways to avoid burnout. I did them. It totally works. Jordan also did it with me, and he was on fire. He was so stoked because we went hiking in Santa Barbara. We went up to a hot springs, and then we went to the beach with some of our best friends, and it was awesome. Oh man. Like, I didn't think that that was going to be my type of rest, and I felt great. We were exhausted afterwards, and honestly, it was like the best exhausted feeling ever when your legs are so tired, but you had such a good day, and you know you're going to sleep well. It was so great. So avoid burnout. Leave a comment below, or DM me, or call me, because I want to know what you're gonna do on your day of rest. What does that look like for you? I think if we share what our rest looks like, or what we want our rest to look like to everyone else, we can bounce our ideas off of one another, and then we can have better rest days. Sometimes we just don't think the same as somebody else, but when we hear what someone else wants to do, we didn't know that was the exact thing we needed to hear, right? So thank you for coming to my morning matcha. I am glad to be back after my week off. Don't worry, I had a morning matcha every single day. I just didn't get to talk to you. So thanks for joining me. I hope that you take a break, that you rest, that you enjoy your rest, and cheers to being a better person afterwards.